Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to the mother, and to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and to the author Srila Vyasadeva. Hare Krishna. We are reading from the third canto entitled Status Quo, I believe. And we are reading from the third canto, third chapter entitled The Lord's Pastime Out of Vrindavan. And we are on text 8. Asam Muurte Akasmin Nana Agareshu Yoshitam Savidam Jagrihe Panin Anurupa Swamayaya Asammuta Ekasmin
Samurta ekasmin
Nanagare Suyoshitam Savidam Jagrihe Panim Anurupa Swamayaya Asamuhurta ekasmin Nanagare Suyoshitam Davidam Jagrihe Panim Anurupa Swamayaya Asamuhurta ekasmin Nanagare Suyoshitam Davidam Jagrihe Panim Anurupa Swamayaya
Samurta
ekasmin
Nanagare Shuyoshitam
Nanagare Suyoshitam
Savidham Jagrihe Panim
Davidam Jagrihe Panim
Anurupa Swamayaya.
Someone online would like to chant?
Asamahurta ekasmin Nanagareshu yositam Savidham Jagrihe Panim Anurupa Swamayaya
Asamurta
ekasmin
Nanagareshu yositam Savidham
Jagrihe Panim
Anarupa Swamayaya.
Word for word. Asam, all those. Muorte, at one time. Ekasmin, simultaneously. Nana Agareshu, in different compartments. Yoshitam
Yoshitam
of the woman,
of the women,
Savidam
Savitam
with great rituals.
with perfect.
Oh,
ritual,
perfect rituals.
perfect
Sorry.
ritual.
Jagrihe,
Jagrihe
accepted.
accepted.
Panin,
Panim
hands.
and
Anurupa,
Anurupam
exactly too much.
exactly to match.
Swamayaya,
Swamayaya
by his internal potency.
by his internal potency.
Hare Krishna. Translation. All those princesses were lodged in different apartments, and the Lord simultaneously assumed different bodily expansions, exactly matching each and every princess. He accepted their hands in perfect ritual by his internal potency. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In the Brahma Samhita 533, the Lord is described as follows in regard to his innumerable planetary expansions. Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Manantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Dulabhamadulabhamatma Bhakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The Lord Govinda, whom I worship, is the original personality of Godhead. He is non-different from his innumerable plenary expansions, who are all infallible, original, and unlimited, and who have eternal forms. Although he is primeval, the oldest personality is always fresh and young. By his internal potencies, the Lord can expand himself into various personalities of Swayam Prakash, and again into Prabhava and Vaibhava forms, and all of them are non-different from one another. The form into which the Lord expanded to marry the princesses in different apartments were all slightly different, just to match each and every one of them. They are called Vaibhava Vilas, form of the Lord, and are affected by his internal potency, Yoga Maya. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyanajala Shalakaya Shakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upam Skadamayam Dadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sahagana Sakajatam Sahagana Ahadunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kamta Radha Kamta Namostute Tapta Kamshani Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Yari Priye Vamsha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paskachadidatarine Mukam Koti Vatshalam Pangum Langayatigim, Yakripam Tamaham Bande, Siguhum Disatarinam. Hare Krishna. So the verse say, all those princesses were lodged in different apartments, and the Lord simultaneously assumed different bodily expansion and exactly matching each and every princess. He accepted their hand in perfect ritual by his internal potency. Hare Krishna. So we are going to summarize what's happening here. So the past time you can read in Krishna book. Yesterday, we had our Krishna book reading, women Krishna book reading, and we completed the reading of the Krishna book. And my desire is to start again on Friday and to gather together to read Krishna book and pay attention to the stories, pay attention to the emotion of each personality, really getting to know all those personality, the eternal associate of the Lord, getting to know them and by hearing those stories again and again, we make them part of our daily lives. They can come back to us, they can come to our mind, they can, in every situation, we can remember the Lord, and his activities. So here, the Lord was petitioned by Lord Indra. And there is a lot to that story. But Lord Indra, he went to the Lord because there was a demon, Bhaumasura, Narakasura is said here in a Srimad Bhagavatam. But that demon, Bhaumasura, had stole Aditi's, Indra. Aditi, she's a mother of all the demigods, and of course, Indra is a demigod. And he went to complain to the Lord. And in this past time, we can see how, like the demigods, they are God conscious, they are pious, pious beings, and at the same time, they have material attachment. That's what they are demigods. So we can see from this past time, Lord Indra, he went to Lord Krishna because Bhaumasura had stole. I'm going to put you on mute. Okay. I stole the hearing of his mother. And recently I was reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 5th canto, how Bali Maharaj is a demon, is a grandchild of Prahlad Maharaj. And Bali Maharaj, he was a demon, and in his pastime with Lord Vamanadev, he gave everything. He gave everything. He promised Vamanadev that he will give him whatever Vamanadev asked. And Vamanadev asked for 3 steps of land. And the first one, he covered practically everything. And then the other one, he went to the outer space. And then the third one, he didn't know where to put it. And so Bali Maharaj said, you can put it on my head. So already, in a sense, Lord Krishna had taken everything from Bali Maharaj. And even after that, he threw him in jail. He threw him in jail with Varuni. He put Varuni with like Varuna. Varuna or the other one, Vasuki. Vasuki. He put Vasuki it's a snake all around, and he arrested him. And it sounds very unjust that Lord Vamanadev will arrest him. And Bali Maharaj is one of the Mahajan, because when he started to pray to the Lord, he felt sorry. He felt sorry for the demigods. He felt sorry for Indra. He felt very sorry for Indra, because he said, it's so unfortunate. I'm feeling so sorry that it's so unfortunate that the demigod Indra could ask you to be in contact with you. He could ask you for pure devotional service. He could ask you for so many things. But what he wanted is to reinstate his own kingdom, because Bali Maharaj, at that time in the Bhagavatam, usually when there is fight between the demon and the demigods kind of win. But there, they didn't win, and Bali Maharaj was ruling over the entire galaxy, including the upper planetary system, and he had everything that belonged to Indra. And so he prayed like that. He said, "How unfortunate, Indra! How unfortunate those demigods are, that they come to you to ask for material benediction." And in that example, we understand why Srila Prabhupada so many times he invites us to understand how a pure devotee is far, far, far superior to any demigod. Because a pure devotee will never accept or even want anything material from the Lord. So Indra, he went to the Lord to get the hearing of his mom. And the Lord, because he's very kind to his devotees, because the demigods are devotees, they're just not pure devotees, but they are devotees. And Krishna take care of his devotees. So he went with Balaram, I believe. The two of them, they went to the place where Brahmasura lives. They killed the demons, that, Mura, that was protecting Brahmasura anyway. And then they entered the kingdom. They entered the kingdom, and when they entered the kingdom, they found that Brahmasura, part of his demoniac activity, he had kidnapped 16,100 queens. Like, not queens, in fact, they were princesses, meaning princesses, they were unmarried young women that were under the shelter of their father, that were king in different provinces. And Brahmasura kidnaps them. And as soon as they saw Lord Krishna, they felt like their heart was melting. And I'm going to read from Krishna book, because within their mind, they decided to accept Krishna as their husband without any hesitation. Each one of them began to pray to Providence that Krishna might become her husband. Sincerely and seriously, they offered their heart to the lotus feet of Krishna, and with unalloyed devotional attitude. As a super soul in everyone's heart, Krishna could understand their uncontaminated desire, and he agreed to accept them as his wife. Thus, he arranged for suitable dresses and ornament for them, and each of them, seated in a palanquin, was dispatched to Dwarka city. Krishna also collected unlimited wealth from the palace, along with the chariot, horses, jewels, and treasure. So when the princesses saw Krishna, right away they developed the desire to have Krishna as their husband. And it's kind of the deepest desire one can have, is to be in exchange relationship with Krishna, either as a servant or as a friend, as parents, or in conjugal love with Krishna. And Krishna could see their desire, and from their desire, and right away he agreed to marry them and dispatch them to Dwarka. And not only he did that, but each of them were put in their separate apartments. In fact, those apartments were palaces. And each of them got to have a beautiful, grand marriage ceremony with Krishna. And here in this verse, it says that Krishna divided himself in 16,100 forms in order to attend to each and every one of those princesses on their marriage day. So on their wedding days, so all simultaneously, there was 16,100 marriage happening in different palaces. And each of those princesses, they got to have Krishna exactly as their heart desired. And that's inconceivable for the mundane mind, completely inconceivable. And Jiva Goswami said that the first qualification to understand Krishna the very first qualification is to understand that Krishna is unconceivable. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that we not understand Krishna. It just means that we are not going to conceive of Krishna with our mundane mind. If we are trying to grab Krishna, to wrap Krishna around our mind, to understand him, even by studying the Veda for thousands and thousands of lifetimes, we are not going to understand Krishna because he's inconceivable by our mundane abilities. And Krishna is fully available to our heart desire, like he was available to the heart desire of those princesses. And we can be sure that he's also available to our deepest desire. Even we may not even be aware of our deepest desire. We may have so many desires, but he is aware of our deepest desire and ready to respond to us, to our sacred desire, and to show up the way he showed up for the queen, and dance with us, a dance of love and affection and exchange of intimacy with the Lord. So he's available in that way. And we can see that for the princesses to come to that place, we can put ourselves in their shoes. There was a terrible demon who was so powerful that he can even make Lord Indra feel small and insignificant and begging the Lord to help him. That those princesses, they went through so much trauma. They were sheltered. Let's think about it. They were sheltered by their father. Their father were kings, all kings, ruler, people with power, fame, wealth, and they were sheltered under their father, protected with their maidservants, being cherished by their father, being in a place of nothing could happen to them, fully manifesting their shaktis. And they were kidnapped by a demon and put in a dungeon, in a dark dungeon together. So that's what's happened to the princesses. So we can see that we are in a dark dungeon, Durga, right now. And so many things happen in our lives. And simultaneously, as we are going through the trauma of our life, like those princesses, we can develop that secret desire to be with Krishna. And because that desire is there, it's Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das, Nitya Krishna, like that love of Krishna is established inside our hearts. And our form, our rupa, is to be lover of Krishna and servant of Krishna. So our soul, the soul of our soul, our soul is desiring, have a secret desire, and to trust that Krishna is fulfilling our secret desire. Because those queens or those princesses, if Bhaumasura didn't kidnap them, they will have been married to some ordinary great personality. I say ordinary great personality because no matter how great they are, those princes, maybe they have big palaces, maybe they have big muscle, maybe they have big intelligence, maybe they are charming, whatever those princes could have given to them, it was nothing in comparison to the secret desire of all those princes to have Krishna as their husband. Because they are eternally associated with Krishna, and they are, in previous lives they did a lot of austerity to have that position as a queen and married to Krishna. But let's, like we can think about that. We can think about, okay, so if they didn't go to the hardship of being kidnapped, they would have been married to an ordinary man. And because Krishna knew their desire, he arranged for them to be in a situation that there was no other choice than for all of them to be married to Krishna. How benevolent is that and loving is that? So that's a story, and that's what's expressed in this verse. how Shri Krishna. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he gave us a verse from the Brahma Samhita. So I think we could indulge ourselves today and read a purport from Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, because of course Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur is the spiritual master of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and he didn't really write for us, and we are going to see how he's not really addressing us. Still, we can, and Prabhupada gave classes on this verse, and we can indulge ourselves. When Prabhupada gave classes on this verse, interestingly, in one of his classes, he made his disciple repeat this verse again and again and again, because this verse is essential to understand Krishna, to start to understand Krishna, to receive that, to pray, to really understand all aspects of Krishna. So I'm going to read the Sanskrit first. Advaitam achyutam anadimananta rupam adyam purana purusham navayovanam cha vedeshu dulavam adulavam atma bhakta govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So Advaitam, all those are name of Krishna. Advaitam is the name of Advaitam. Advaitam is without a second. Achyutam is without decay. Anadim is without a beginning. Anantarupam, whose form is endless, or who possesses unlimited forms. And that's what we are looking at here, unlimited form. Adyam, the beginning. Purana Purusham, the most ancient person. Navayovanam, a blossom youth, a blooming youth. Cha, also Vedeshu, through the Vedas. Durlabham, inaccessible. We cannot access him through the Veda. Adurlabham, not difficult to obtain. Atma Bhakto, through pure devotion of the soul. Govindam, Govinda. Adipurusham, the original person. Tam, him. Haham, I. Bhajami, worship. Like when we sing in the morning. Govindam Adipurusham, Tamaham Bhajami. Jami, like bhajan, it's like our bhajan is something very deep inside us that we offer to Krishna, that Lord Brahma offered to Krishna, and similarly we can meditate on when we sing that song in the morning, we can meditate on how Brahma is giving his art bhajan in worship. Translation: I worship Govinda, the prime of the Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure and unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, and who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. So we are going to read the purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. Advaita means indivisible truth, who is knowledge absolute. Again, we can read every sentence 5 times because they all are very dense, like it's density. Every word Bhaktisiddhanta is uttering is so dense and way denser than our mind can ever comprehend. Advaita means indivisible truth with knowledge absolute. Brahman, the infinite, emanates from him as his effulgence, and God, immanent, Paramatma, as his constituent. But nevertheless, you remain one and indivisible. So Advaita is like that sense of is one with all aspects of himself.
Well, to me, it's a very interesting, because typically we have like the Advaitavad, that's like the impersonalism.
Yeah,
The mind of it. Okay, but the undifferentiated oneness without quality, like this radical non-dualism.
mhm,
I hear about yeah. So Advaita is oneness.
mhm,
Oneness in the sense of it's all truth, and Advaita is with qualities. All the qualities are spiritual. All the qualities are full of such Chidananda, eternity, bliss, knowledge. But the Advaita is personal, so he's giving a contrary understanding to what's typically understood as Advaita in the yoga centers, and you get oneness with spiritual diversity and spiritual color and spiritual personality, not just undifferentiated oneness that lacks quality.
mm. So, Lord Chaitanya's condensed approach to Krishna is Achinta. Achinta means inconceivable. So we remember Jiva Goswami that says the first qualification is Achinta, Veda, Aveda. So Veda, Aveda, Tadva. So it's a oneness and difference. And here Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur expressed it so nicely. So Advaita means indivisible truth with knowledge absolute. Brahman, the infinite, emanates from him. So right away it said like Brahman, Advaita, emanates from him as his effulgent and God immanent Paramatma as his constituent. So his effulgence is Brahman, the oneness, the undifferentiated oneness. And then the constituent is Paramatma, like God in a localized form. But nevertheless, he remains one and indivisible. So even so, he expands himself as Paramatma, even so he's expanding himself as undifferentiated oneness, is one and never lose his oneness, his identity as individual person. So we are going to continue. Achyuta means that though myriad of avatar emanates from him as subjective portion and million of jiva as separated spiritual particle, still he remains intact as an undivided whole of fullest perfection. Though he indulges in exhibiting the pastime of birth. Okay, so that's Achyuta. Achyuta is Om Purnamidam Purnamada Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyati Purnasya Purnamadaya, meaning that the Lord is whole and perfect, and there is so many emanations from him, including the jiva, including this material world, and even so there's so many emanations that's 1 minus 1 or 1 minus 2000 is always 1, and so that's what Achyuta means, is that is never divided. It's never divided, even so there's so many emanations, including the jiva, that are separated from his spiritual particles. And so his full perfection, the whole of fullest perfection, is always complete and perfect. So he indulges in exhibiting the pastime of birth, so anadi, etc. Still is without a beginning, so that's anadi. Though he disappeared after the pastime of his appearance, he is eternal. So he is birthless and eternal. Though without origin, yet he is with an origin in his pastime of appearance, and also eternal in essence. He is still a person in full bloom youth. The sum and substance of it is that so he possesses diverse and apparently mutually contradictory qualities, still they are in universal harmonious concordance by dint of his unthinkable potency. Is that beautiful? The apparently mutually contradictory quality, still they are in universal harmonious concordance by dint of his unthinkable potency. So the Lord is born, but he is unborn. He dies, but he is eternal. Is one and perverted everywhere, and at the same time is never divided. So that's all those contradiction, and so it's we have seen Advaita without a second, Achyuta without decay, Anadim without the beginning, Ananta Upad whose form is endless and who possesses unlimited form. And so without origin, yet he is an origin of his pastime of appearance and also eternal in essence. He is still a person in a full bloom of youth. So he is eternal, like sometimes Prabhupada gave example, how the Christian, they present Krishna, oh God, as an old man with a beard. And Krishna's pastime on earth were 125 years, so he should have been an old man with a beard. And always, Yovanamcha, he always appeared as a youthful 16-year-old Krishna. So youth, because youths are very attractive, Srila Prabhupada said. This is what it means by Chid Dharma, transcendental nature, as distinguished from the material. His graceful threefold bending form with flute in hand possesses eternal blooming youth and is above all unwholesomeness that is to be found in limited time and space. I'm going to read again. His graceful threefold bending form with flute in hand possesses eternal blooming youth and is above all unwholesomeness that is to be found in limited time and space. So is above what's not perfect and is above what's not whole. And that's what's not perfect and what's not whole is found only in places that are limited by time and space. Oh, beautiful. In the transcendental realm, there is no past and future, but only the unloyal, unalloyed, and immutable present time. In the transcendental sphere, there is no distinction between the object and its quality, and no such identity as is found in the limited mundane region. So that's referred to the part of our verse that he accepted their hand in perfect ritual by his internal energy. But by internal energy, Swayam, in this verse it says Swayam Prakash. So Prakash means effulgent and Swayam means self. So he's self-effulgent. And in the Brahma Samhita, he also explained how the Lord is like a Swayam Prakash, Swayam Rupa is Krishna in Vrindavan, the original form of Krishna. And that original form, from that original form emanates so many incarnations and forms. And all of them, they are considered like the Swayam Rupa is the first candle. And then imagine that with that first candle, we light many candles. In a sense, after all the candles are lit, they all look the same. They all look the same. They have the same potency of light and heat. So similarly, Krishna, he can expand in 60,100 husbands, and he can expand himself, and all those expansions have the same potency. However, they are different. Like Subhari Muni, in one of his pastimes, he was able to do so much austerity and sacrifice and yogic mystical prowess that Surabhi Muni, he divided himself in 8, but those 8 were himself, like it was only one identity, an 8 form. However, Krishna, when he divided himself in 16,100 form, there is 16,100 identities. Like he can't even relate to each other. It said that Lord Narayan, at one point he was speaking with Narada Muni, and he was wishing like, oh, I wish I could be a gopi and meet Krishna. So they have individual identity. And that's really like an aspect of the Lord that is inconceivable. How he can divide himself. You know, sometimes he divide himself a Prabhava. Prabhava means he has the same form, but internally he has different emotion. Or there is a Vaibhava form where there is difference, like Balaram. Balaram is Krishna, is an image, first expansion of Krishna, and still he doesn't have the same form, is white. So the Lord can do all kind of expansion. It can expand, even when it expand and it's all the same form, it all looks the same, it's still individual. They are all keeping their individuality. So we can keep that in mind. So in the transcendental sphere, there is no distinction between the object and its quality, and no such identity as is found in the limited mundane region. Hence, those qualities that seems to be apparently contradictory in the light of mundane conception, limited by time and space, exist in agreeable and dainty concordance in the spiritual realm. How can the jiva realize such unprecedented existence? So that's inconceivable. How can the jiva, how can we conceive of a person who can divide himself in so many persons, with each person keeping their identity, keeping their qualities, being still the Purusha and Bhagavan with all opulence, and have different identity at the same time, separated identity. It's not conceivable. So Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur asks a rhetoric question. How can the jiva realize such unprecedented existence? The limited intellectual function of the jiva is always contaminated by the influence of time and space, and is therefore not in a position to shake off this limitedness. The limited intellectual function of the jiva is very humbling to read. The limited intellectual function of the jiva is always contaminated by the influence of time and space, and is therefore not in a position to shake off this limitedness. So one qualification also about in spiritual life, to accept the Lord is inconceivable, and to accept that I'm insignificant and extreme infinitesimal. Srila Prabhupada describes the jiva infinitesimal, so easily covered by Maya. And Maya is the energy of Krishna. We are not going to win against Maya. It's very well powerful than we are. And Krishna is in charge of Maya. So let's continue. So then like that. If the potency or cognitive function does not extend to the realization of the transcendental, what else can? So if our cognitive function are not going to go beyond this material limited sphere, what can? In reply, Rama said that the transcendental absolute is beyond the reach of the Vedas. How? Beyond the reach of the Vedas. The Veda originate in sound, and sound originate in a mundane ether. So the Veda cannot present before us a direct view of the transcendental world called Loka. Well, that's challenging, isn't it? It's really challenging. Like, we are not going to understand with our intellect, and we are not going to understand by studying the Vedas, because the Vedas emanate in sound, and sound comes from ether, and ether is still in a material sphere. So that's even more challenging for us to hear. So the Veda cannot present before us a direct view of the transcendental world, Goloka. It is only when the Vedas are imbued with a chit potency that they are unable to deal with the transcendental. But Goloka reveals itself to every Jiva soul when he is under the influence of the spiritual cognitive potency joined to the essence of ecstatic energy. The ecstatic function of devotion is boundless and in surcharge with unalloyed transcendental knowledge. That knowledge reveals Goloka Tattva, the principle of the highest transcendental, in unison with devotion, without asserting itself separately, but as a subsidiary to unalloyed devotion. That's Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. One thing I really don't get is like, I see sometimes people who claim to be Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur follower, or like follower of his follower, and they are like absorbed in Sahajaism, like making spiritual life very cheap, speaking about the pastime of the Kopi with Krishna and Radharani all the time and those things. And here we see Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur is so highly qualified to present philosophy, because unless we understand our position, that we are limited here, we are not going to have access to the transcendental pastime of the Lord, to his pastime, the transcendental pastime of the Lord, who are like above this material energy. And Srila Prabhupada in his class on Brahma Samhita, for that part, he said, in order for us to get bhakti, transcendental bhakti, that energy of bhakti, we need to serve someone who has it. And because the Lord wants us to be with him, and the Lord is above the material energy, he wants us back. And you see, like, oh, you're wasting your time serving the material energy. You're serving the material energy all the time. You're serving my external energy. You're trying to control, you're serving it by trying to control the external energy and by lording over the material energy. And I'm looking at you and I feel pain. I feel so much pain that you're struggling. And the more you want to control, the more we want to control something, the more we are controlled by that very thing. So that's true with the material energy. The more we want to control the material energy, like making people happy, making ourselves happy, the more we are going to suffer. That's Prahlad Maharaj. He's giving us a lot of wisdom. So Krishna, from his perspective, is, oh, please, what you need to do is to connect with me. The way to connect with me is to serve me. By serving me, you enter the transcendental plane. And how do you serve me? By serving those who are connected with me in pure devotion. And there is a song that Srila Prabhupada quotes in his purport. It's a song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, O Vaishnav. And in that, he said, O Vaishnav Thakur, ocean of mercy, be merciful to me, your servant, and purify me by the shade of your lotus feet. Your feet I humbly hold, controlling my six urges and purifying my six thoughts. Please give to your servant the six qualities. Oh, give me the six kind of holy association. I have sat down here in the hope of having your company. Alone I find I have no strength to chant the holy name of our Lord Hari. I beg you therefore, please be merciful, and with a particular face, give me the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours. So the way to receive Krishna is not through the Vedas, is through devotion and through service to those who own, whose Krishna is property. The devotees is Krishna is their property. You are able to give him to me, for such is your power. I am indeed wretched and simply run after you, crying Krishna, Krishna. So we have spoken about Bhaumasura and Bhaumasura and the queen, and how the Lord was simultaneously with all of them, pleasing them, fulfilling their desire, and simultaneously can be with us exactly in the same way. And sometimes I'm thinking, oh, Krishna is just with me, or Prabhupada is just with me. And that's not very useful for spiritual life, because it's really limiting Krishna. So we need to extend ourselves the way Krishna extends himself, meaning really seeing that Krishna is a super soul in everybody's heart, and is guiding the wandering of all the living entities. He says himself to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, I am guiding the wandering of all the living entities. So that means that Krishna has a personal relationship with all the Jiva souls. He can divide himself as many Jiva souls that there is. It's not a difficult task for him. And he does that in many ways. And one way that we can access the easier is Paramatma, is inside our heart, is inside the heart of all living entities, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. And he expands from Yoga Maya, meaning he expands as internal energy. So when we connect Paramatma and we allow Paramatma to be our guide and listen to Paramatma, even when Paramatma says things that we don't want to hear or have a different plan than our plans, then we have an opportunity to plug into the Chaitya Guru, the Guru in the heart, which is represented outside by the external form of the Guru. And for us, this person is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. If we study the study of incarnation and expansion of the Lord is quite complex, and we can read that there are 6 different types. There is Guna, Avatar. Guna is quality, and there is Lila, pastimes. There is a Purusha, creation. There is a Mananvantar, like a certain period of time. And then there is a Shaktivesh avatar. Shaktivesh avatar are expansion of Krishna that are often Jiva expansion of Krishna, because we are expansion of Krishna. It's like, to understand expansion of Krishna means also us, and that's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur brings out in his purport. So a jiva expansion of Krishna that is especially empowered by the Lord for a certain mission. So that's Srila Prabhupada is especially empowered by the Lord for a certain mission, not only by the Lord, but by the parampara, by the disciplic succession, by a line of teachers that are specially empowering one after another, and especially landing in the current link to the parampara, which is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So by begging to Srila Prabhupada, by pleasing Srila Prabhupada, by serving Srila Prabhupada's mission, we get to have access to the internal energy of the Lord, and guide it externally and internally, and we get an opportunity to let go of our material projects or lording over material energy or little God project, to really see like, okay, everything is guided, everyone is taken care of, I am taken care of, everything that comes to me in my life, whatever it is, being kidnapped by Bhaumasura, being married to Krishna, being, receiving a lot of wealth, not receiving wealth, all that is under the supervision and safe. I'm safe and protected, and everything is perfect in Krishna's perfect plan, whole perfect plan. Hare Krishna, I'm going to stop here and read again the verse. Asamuhurta ekasmin nanagareshu yoshitam savidam jagrihe panim anurupa swamayaya. All those princesses were lodged in different apartments, and the Lord simultaneously assumed different bodily expansions, exactly matching each and every princess. He accepted their hands in perfect ritual by his internal potency. So each princess is got a Krishna. And let's say they were saying, no, I know how Krishna is, and I know better because he showed me. And then others will say, no, and that will not work. So Krishna manifests himself to us too, in a very different form and in a different relationship and in a different humor. And we need to be present with that and allow ourselves to have that intimacy, while also be present with other people and their relationship with Krishna and their intimacy with the Lord and their special relationship with him. Hare Krishna. Any comment, question, challenges, criticism, realization? I know it was kind of a philosophical class today, and because the purport was quite philosophical too. Hare Krishna. What's happening for you after hearing this class about different qualities of the Supreme and how is Advaita, Anadim, Ananta?
I appreciate it, and you took special pastime related to conjugal loss, and you philosophically applied it to, what's that mean for me? Yeah, okay, so Krishna's personally present in the personal way, so like, so to become more acutely aware, for me, for each of us, how is Krishna personally appearing in my life, and you gave the process to be in that question more profoundly by to the extent we purify our heart, follow the process, follow Srila Prabhupada. And appreciated you read the Brahma Samhita verse and purport by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And that inspired me to, been years since I read Brahma Samhita, so that was inspiring for me. And I got some more glimpses of realization about hearing that purport, how come Prabhupada quoted that verse in his purport about the Balmasuri Pass. Yes, the 16,100 princesses. So I appreciate it how you made this pastime philosophical in person.
Yeah, Krishna. Yeah, it was. I was thinking, reading the verse. I was thinking, okay, well, let's see what Prabhupada is speaking about. And then I did meditate on like, oh, where is the connection between the two, and how does it apply to us? Yeah. Thank you for your sharing, and thank you for like condensing everything in a kind of nutshell kind of way. Thank you. Anything else?
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you for class. I wanted to share a gem that I plan on taking away. Specifically how you shared that we're trying to lord over the material energy, and Krishna is the Lord of the material energy. And I'm aware that I've heard it a million times, but it's just this morning, it felt so potent and a reflection of in my life, how I'm trying to lord over the material energy and how important it feels right now to remember that it's Krishna's lordship there, not mine. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Payal, for sharing your gem. It's something you have heard many times, but somehow today, because whatever you said, your mindset, your receptivity, your hearing, and it's going deeper within yourself. So it's like really remembering that even so we, and that's why we are separated, and like in his purport also, practitioners speak even the separated jiva, because not all the jiva are separated, but the separated jiva, that's us. We are separated from the Lord. We separated the energy. That we are limited by space and time, and however we try to act as if we were not, and we want to lord over the material nature. And like but sometimes he said, what's why is why, I don't remember the question he asked. But anyways, the response to his question was like, we have some control over the material energy. As we are Ishwara in some ways, but we don't have complete control. And how do we control? By serving the Lord. So as long as we use that potency, that controlling potency, Ishwara, and to serve the Lord, then everything is going to flow naturally and be aligned with the project and plan of the Lord. And when we want to use that potency of controlling the material energy, separated from the Lord for our own aggrandizement, for our own gratification, for our own greed, or whatever, then that's when we create friction in the universe and friction in our lives.
I appreciate that. As you were sharing, I was reflecting, like, for me this week a little bit, I've been creating, not a little bit, but I've been creating anxiety around Zion's health. And what I experienced was attempting to solve what I experience as the problem without the Lord, without, involving Krishna. It's like, oh, with anxiety, I'm just like, oh, if I find this solution or that solution. And what I just heard from you, I think it's helping me process is like, there's a distinction between, I can still serve the Lord and I can still serve by looking at Zion's health while including Krishna, rather than it being, because then there's so much more anxiety when it's just me and, oh, here I am trying to fix it all with the material energy.
It's all on your shoulder. You feel like, oh, it's so heavy when it's all on my shoulder. It's just me and then else, and I can make mistake, and then it will damage then else, or maybe I will not find it, and it's so much anxiety instead of being in a place like, oh Lord, let's your plans and benevolence be manifest in a way you choose to. And me as a mother, I'm going to be guided to do what's in my power to do.
Yes, that's, I think that's something that I tend to forget is, that I can be guided as his mother. And so this getting to listen to you speak was very helpful. And thank you for sharing that part.
Yeah. That be in a place of trust and surrender to the Lord. Let your plan be manifest for them and for me. And let me let me be guided by you to be responsible and do my duty as a mother, and helping them in his physical condition.
Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna.
I had a very similar realization last night. Last night I couldn't sleep. I found something in my body anyway. I couldn't sleep, but it's not because of that, but I wasn't sleeping, which is many nights. And I really felt serenity. I felt like, I know, I have idea for service, and if my service is to, again, go through some crazy whatever illness and treatments, so be it. So be it. It's not like one is better than the other. On Krishna's level, everything is absolute. It's not like being sick is better or worse than not being sick. It's just a different experience. And it's like being kidnapped is not no better of not being kidnapped. Those princesses, they went through a lot of trouble. If they put us, protected, they never seen a man in their life. They were completely sheltered by their father, that just having, like being fully happy with their girlfriends around, and all of a sudden they are put in a dungeon. And then that lets them to really have their deepest desire be fulfilled, more than if they were not kidnapped. So we this material life is here to help us understand the absolute plan of the Lord and surrender and trust Him. So as a mother, you want to remember to trust Krishna. Krishna is in charge of Zen's, all, he knew Zen before you knew him, and he will know Zen after you passed away. And he knows exactly what's the best for you and him, and what's the best for you and him. Externally, I don't know how it will look.
Thank you for that, Marie. And thank you for sharing your experience and hearing your experience. And it's like we can be in resistance, or we can experience our experience. And like you said, we don't know what is supposed to happen. If you're meant to experience a illness, you're meant to, that's what the Lord wants for you, and you may have to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Like if those princes, they had to experience kidnapping, because that's what will lead them to be married by Krishna. Without the kidnapping, they will not be there. So we can remember that pastime, like what can be more terrible than being kidnapped by a demon. And at the same time, like stepping out of duality of this is good, this is bad. That's duality. And that world of duality prevent us from seeing the love and benevolence that surround us. Thank you, Pearl. Anything else? Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Kantora Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. That was a very special experience last night.